we're in Canada because
a boot. Not a boot. Sorry. I'm recording.
All right, welcome back to Trail Trash Garage 440 project. So you guys have seen this in past videos where we kind of messed with the tank. We did a Will It Run video. I believe that's on the Garage channel. So today we're actually putting it up on the bench. It's now winter time here in Atlanta, Canada. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna start this project. And I've been kind of putzing with a bunch of other projects in the background. Some of them are for me, some of them from other people. But I'm really looking forward to this project. So basically what we have here is a 1980 or 81 LTD 440 Kawasaki. Now what's the LTD or KZ440 LTD? So in the 70s, Kawi brought out the KZ series. They had, there was a 400 and a 500 or a 550, 750. Basically, it was their street bike series to compete with Yamaha's XS's. So they come in all different engine configurations and sizes. So this started life, I think in 76 maybe, or later part of the 70s when they were transferring to 4-strokes from 2-strokes. And this was the little baby one, 400. And it was a twin cylinder overhead cam. I think it's a single overhead cam. Street bike, you know, it had spoke wheels. I think it might have had a disc brake up front, an early disc brake, but they almost always drum brakes in the back. So to kind of cash in, when the 80s hit to cash in on the whole custom market, you saw Honda do the shadows, and Yamaha did the Japan was cranking out inline 4-cylinder, inline twin cruisers, basically, to kind of look like these 70s choppers and customs that Harley was doing. And eventually they all come out with their own twin cylinder engines. But for example, on the Honda side, the CB, you could get the CB 750. That in '79 they went to the dual overhead cams from the single overhead cam that you see all the hipsters making cafe racers out of, to the dual overhead cams. And there was the F version, which was like a standard motorcycle, your UJM, Universal Japanese Standard motorcycle. But then they did the custom, the CB 750 custom, the CB 900 custom. And they had a scoop seat and, you know, raked out forks a little bit. Sometimes they did a leading edge fork where the axle on the front didn't go through the fork, but it actually came in on the front of the fork like a dirt bike did at the time, to rake the front out a little bit. So that way they didn't have to change the frame or the steering head angle, because that was all done on a jig. They could just rake the front end out by simply moving the axle to the front of to the leading edge of the fork. So this puppy came out with a 400. Basically the same engine configuration. And then in 1980, they did the LTD, which was Kawi's custom. And so we got the scoop set. If you look at the frame differences, I believe the frame came like more here and came straight back on the KZ 400s. And I think the early 440s that weren't LTDs. And then when the LTD, they basically just changed the ass end of the frame here to do this jog. And then scoop the seat out. Like the seat is like, I'll show it to you guys, it's crazy. Yeah, so I mean, it's like really dished down, and you got this really high step seat on it, and I mean, it just screams 80s ugly to me. So, but anyway, if I put up a link or something to a modern Ducati Scrambler icon, you'll see that in this area they have kind of like a dished frame, and you'll see the seat is there. Now the seat kind of comes back almost like a banana with very little drop, but it does thicken up through here where your butt sits, and so the seat actually goes. So what we're going to do is we're not going to bugger the frame, because if we take this off real quick and look, you'll see we already got a frame hoop, we already got a good support for the rear fender. Now obviously this fender is not the one we're going to be going with. This 80s chrome rail is going, but we've already got everything we want. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to shorten the seat pan to follow the seat hoop. That'll cut a little bit of this big hump, and we're just going to shave this hump off. So the seat's going to cut here, the hump's going. This foam is going to get built up so that we got more of a flat banana style seat that just thickens out through here. We're going to put a nice new cover on this. We got carburetors are pretty much all going to stay the same. The frame is going to stay the same. I'm not a big cafe racer open space here. Like, I don't know why people do that, but anyway, they do. This stuff's pretty much all going to stay the same. I have one of the side covers. We'll see if we can find another side cover. Maybe we'll ditch the side covers and go with custom side covers with number plates. Something kind of cool and scramblery throwback. The tank lines, I like the tank lines. I don't want to change them. This has got a nice flat, like just lift that up slightly there, and you've got this nice flat line that's parallel to the ground, which is what we want. And even if it's dished down, if we bring the back suspension up slightly, then we can flatten that line out. We can flatten that line out, or maybe even canter it forward slightly in a scrambler style. So these shocks obviously are not good. They're going. There's not really a whole lot you can do to fix these. You can try to clean up the chrome and then maybe have the springs powdered or powder coated or paint or something, but they're old, they're clapped out. We're gonna go with new shocks, and probably lengthen up slightly just to get the rear end up a little bit. Now, the biggest problem with doing these to these bikes is this right here. It's a 16-inch rim. Almost all the LTDs had 16-inch rims. There were a few models that were released with 17 or 18-inch rear rims for the KZ line, but it's dubious as to which ones interchange with which ones. Some of them were only Europe-only models, some of them whatever. It restricts our rubber choices greatly. Shinko 244s are my favorite 50/50 tire. They do make one in a 16-inch size. It's just not, I do believe, like this says it's 4.6. So the Shinko makes it, but it's only in a 3.0, which is 4.6 roughly translates to around a 120. And I think they originally came with a 130, a 130/90 or 130/80 16 on these. So Kenda makes an option that's a little wider, that's kind of like a chunky dual sport tire. But right now, Port9 has them listed at $200 a tire for a Kenda. I don't know why, but their Kenda prices are through the roof right now. I don't know why. But anyway, I don't know what we're going to do for rubber just yet. I may go with the Shinkos and just see how skinny the tire is. And if it looks terrible, then, you know, I don't know. If we're going for that Scrambler Ducati Icon look, the fatter tire, the better on the rear, because they do have that chunky rear tire. There's some options there, but I don't know what we're going to do just yet. The front, I believe, is an 18 or 19. I was looking the other day for it. So 3.6, and I can't see the 19. 3.6, 19. So 19-inch front rubber. We got all kinds of options for that. Tons of options for that.
Most of them sitting in my basement.
There you go. Yeah. We've got lots of options for front dual sport rubber for that. We got a single disc brake, which we're going to keep. We're going to go with a stainless steel brake line. We're going to go DRZ 650 controls. We have that headlight. I think we're going to keep because you can't see. Let's look in our tickle trunk here.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we got a grill.
I gotta take a step back here.
Yeah, take a step back. So how's that going to look?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the grill. We got some.
Ooh, plush rubber.
Yeah, and I've already got them chopped out because they come off another bike. So that they're going to go there, and probably we're going to do some bar end mirrors or something like that. If not, then we'll just cover them up with some bar ends. We have my favorite fork gatorage. And one good thing about this, we do have fork seals in here as well. So I just got the seals because these boots, they're all cracked up, but they're going, and the fork gators are going to cover that up. So we just got the seals, and there's a little bit of spot rusting up here on these, but that was one of the things I looked at when we bought the bike to make sure that those weren't rusted, because here in Canada.
Sorry, I'm trying to get in focus. Yeah. Anyways, there's rust there.
Here in Canada, getting these rechromed or replaced is like super expensive.
What did I? Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no! Not the DJI. It's okay. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay. I think.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Good news, folks. I do not owe Jeff a new camera today.
The SD card.
Sorry, man.
So yeah, so back to the forks. Getting these rechromed here in Atlantic, Canada, or replaced with a new set is just it's worth more than the bike is worth, really. Even after we fix it up and sell it, it would just be too expensive to get these done. And shipping right now, to ship them up to like probably the only place that would do quality rechroming in Canada would be like Ontario, somewhere in Toronto or somewhere like that, or maybe someplace in Quebec. To ship these forks up, to do it, to have that done, forget it. So none of it seems to be in the path of the fork seal, so we're just going to clean those up as best we can. We'll fill any pitting, but I don't see any pitting here at all. The worst of the rust is back here on the backside, but it's still high in the fork. So the gators will cover it up, but I mean, I'm not going to leave it there anyway. We're going to sand that out, like sand it and buff it, and you won't even know. Anyway, short story long, those are going to clean up perfectly. Same as this. This is going to clean up really well. And of course, we're not leaving it here. We're going to mount it up here. We're going to bring her out on the old Scrambler. So we're going to do a high mount. Probably we'll use these two mounts here to make a bracket that's going to mount to this. And we'll probably use these 4 rivet holes. We'll drill those out, remove this, and use the bracket. Maybe we'll even use this. We'll flip it upside down and cut it up. You know me, I like to reuse as much as I can, original bike. So we're gonna reuse this muffler, mud guard. Probably this will get
Shortened
a little bit.
Dang fuck, that's ugly.
Yeah, and these, I mean, obviously these are gonna go, these supports. We have a mini Speedo here. So just cheap Amazon with the idiot lights all built in. Bang, that's gonna get done. Yeah, blinkers, I don't know what we're gonna do there. Obviously these are going. Like, I think these are all factory and they don't even match, the front don't even match the rears on that bike. I don't.
Oh, the rears are even uglier. They're that big square.
It wouldn't surprise me if Cowie, if these were the blinkers that were on the KZs, and when Cowie did the LTD, they just changed the rear blinkers and didn't bother doing anything in the fronts. So I don't know. That or somebody along the way changed them out. There's a few other goodies in there. Just whatever. We've already replaced the carb boots, brand new carb boots on there. So today's job is exhaust. So there it goes into a two. But we're not doing that. Both pipes, this one's all kinked up, so I've already chopped it off. And we've got blowouts. These are double walled. So anyway, so that's actually how big the exhaust was in there.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're going to use the outer tubing here to kind of give us a guide on making the bends here, because we're going to do a high mount exhaust. I think we're going to bring it up on this side. There's a couple of different places we can mount. We'll probably use this, the shock mount, or something to mount the can on. But we're going to actually curl this around. So I've chopped off the end of it because this is the most important thing to use. And it's this part here.
So, there we go. Okay.
Yeah. So basically these go in here. And then that goes on and catches these lips. And that pushes the pressure on the, keeps the exhaust bolted in. So we have to retain these if we want to retain the factory rings, okay? Which I do, because they're classic and they look good. Now, if Colin can zoom in here, I'll show you the one problem we have with this bike. Right here, you're gonna want to come over this side. Is you'll notice there's something's missing right here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically we've only got one exhaust stud. It's gonna hold that side on.
It's like, just like, what else do you say about it? Like, oh, 1 second. Fuck. There we go. Hard to get it in there. Come on, give me the right one. Area effect lock. No.
Power off.
Anyways, you get the idea. That's gone.
So we've got 4 options. Option A is to, when we take this engine out, which we're going to do because we have surface rust all over the frame, and so this is going to be one of the first bikes I really strip to the frame and repaint. Now I did that to the KE100. So we're going to do that again to this one. So the engine's got to come out. So when it does, we're going to go over to a welder and see if they can bugger in some weld. We'll drill and tap. That's option 1, or A. Option 2B is we drill holes in these fins and we use springs, exhaust springs. Lots of exhaust, aftermarket and everything, factory, 2 strokes, 4 strokes, use exhaust springs to hold the headers on. And so we can use a bolt on one side and springs on the other. Plus, you got to remember that these 2 headers are going to be tied together. There'll be a crossover at some point and a collector at some point here. So you're going to have 3 screws holding it, and then probably a set of 2 springs. So that's plan B. Plan C is I hog out some material here, and we embed an M6, because I think these are M6. We embed an M6 nut, and then JB weld. And because there'll be no lateral force on it, it's only going to be this way. The nut is going to be embedded in the existing aluminum and then packed in around with JB weld, and that's going to hold the threads. There's not a lot of pressure on these. There's not going to be a lot of force on them. You're just crushing down some copper crush washers there, exhaust gaskets, and so it doesn't have to be a ton of force. So JB Weld, I think there was another website, Project Farm or somebody like that, had done that. They'd done thread repair with JB Weld, and they took like 16 or 17 foot-pounds of force. So, which strictly JB Weld, and this is actually going to be a nut a stainless steel nut with some just be reinforced with JB Weld. So I think that'll be fine, and we can actually mold the JB Weld and clean it up and make it look decent, and then paint the engine. And no, it'll probably no. So that's option C, okay? And option B, or sorry, option D is to replace the jugs, replace the cylinder head. And guess what option we are absolutely never going to go for?
Replacing the cylinder head.
Right.
What's the grand total of that, Jeff?
More money than this bike is worth. So we're not doing that. It'll be one of the three, the first three options. So I'll just see what the welding's going to cost and if they think it's feasible. Welding cast aluminum's not the easiest thing to do. Some welders won't do it. So we'll see. Springs is probably my go-to option at this point. It just requires drilling a couple holes in those fins and then running a couple of exhaust springs, which, you know, won't even look bad. It'll kind of look weird. Like, I don't even think it'll look weird. It'll look kind of, maybe it'll look cool. I don't know, right? Somebody will just go in there and go, oh yeah, cool.
Is it going to work? Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it'll work. So, and not a buggered solution either. It's a valid solution, right? If you look at some two-stroke motorcycles from the factory, that's what they do. They've got holes drilled into the fins, and they've got two exhaust springs, and that holds the.
Oh, like that super power sport you lent us for the summer, the Van 200.
No, I don't think that uses that method. Anyway, but the springs on the header, you'll find a lot of older two-strokes. They'll either do a ring that you twist this on, the screws on and holds, or there'll be two springs that come out of the block and hook onto two little hooks on the header. So there's usually a part that actually bolts on here and has a sleeve, and then that the header goes over the sleeve and then is held on by two screws, right?
Right.
So that'll work. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to bring those two pipes up this side. So we need to use a combination of these pipes, and I'm probably going to use a combination of mild steel exhaust tubing from Crappy Tire. For you Canadians, you'll know what I'm talking about. It basically, Dime City Cycles, Lowbrow Customs, Blue Collar Bobbers, all that. A lot of them sell exhaust kits, DIY exhaust kits that have pre-mandrel bends at 45 and 90, and you cut it up the way you want it. Those kits are hard to come by here in Canada. Even if you could get a good exchange on your dollar and order them from some of those companies, the shipping right now is crazy across the U.S.-Canadian border. So that's just not worth it. Again, we're cost prohibitive in this type of build. True pie cuts, honestly, I haven't got the patience to do that. They only really look good if they're TIGged. I'm going to be MIG welding this stuff because I don't have a TIG. And ultimately, it's just going to be covered with pipe wrap anyway, which is a practical solution here. Not only do I think it looks cool, but it's going to be a practical solution because you're going to have, you know, your legs going over here. So that's just not, it's going to work. It'll be fine. And then we'll come up with some sort of an engine guard too, like a heat guard, a heat shield, I should say. But again, you know, pipe wrap it, covers all my welding sins. We need to address this horrible tank issue.
I gotta look down on you.
Speaking of welding sins, so this is still leaking. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut all of this out and we're gonna put a patch panel in there. So that's what we're gonna do. Because it's so thin here, it's just not.
Oh wow.
Yeah, this is all pitted. This was all pitted. So I'm filling pits with weld, and it's just, I think I actually did get this side fixed, but I think it's leaking over here somewhere, or maybe it's here. So we're just gonna cut a section out and we're gonna scab in some good metal. And maybe when I have this section cut out, I may be able to reach this dent, because this is the only one that I'm worried about. There's a few small dents other places on this tank, but this one affects this line right here, and it's deep enough where I'm gonna have to stick some weld in it. Or a lot of body fill, and I don't wanna do that. So this is a high point we gotta tap down. So we're gonna clean the paint off here. We're gonna weld one of our little bolts to it, and we're gonna take our dent puller. We're gonna see if we can pull this out as best we can. And if not, we might be able to get to it through the hole we cut here. But we have the fuel tap is in good shape. We have a good fuel cap here. They sell the rubber for it, so I've got a new rubber for that. So this tank, once we're finished with it, it's gonna look good.
Gonna look good,
Yeah, it's got a nice shape. Bars, I don't know what we're gonna do with the bars. I don't know. These are just bars I stuck in there. We have a set of bent up dirt bike bars.
Hey, those look like those are off the XT250.
Colin will recognize these. Obviously, if we go with bike bars, we're not going to go with bent up ones that are all beat to shit, but they may serve as a placeholder to see if we like the seating position once we get the seat done. If we lug these, then we'll obviously replace them with a set of straight ones. So, but this is just to get us a kind of an idea of where we want to go with this. These are more like a tracker or super bike bar. They're fairly wide. Now we've got lots of space here. We could cut them down, move the controls in because they are out there quite a ways. So, but where this is supposed to be a straight tracker, scrambler thingy, whatever you want, we may want something that's just slightly narrower or slightly flatter. Well, we won't know that till we get the seat done. Once we get the seat done, then we'll get the controls done. I guess that's it for complaining. The only other thing we got to do is we got to tear into this clutch because the clutch does not work.
Hydraulic clutch or
no? It's a cable clutch.
Cable clutch. Okay.
But what it does, it comes down here to a cam that rotates out and pushes a rod that comes actually over the clutch plates here on this side.
1 second. Okay.
Yeah. So right now we have no clutch action at all. So we have to check that cam. And I know the cam's okay because I've already been in there. But every time you pull the clutch in, the cam comes off its track over there because the plates here are locked up, I suspect. So the clutch needs to come apart, and then we'll see what we have for clutch material. If we could get away with just cleaning up the steel plates and then replacing the fiber plates, or if there's enough meat on the fiber plates, I'll clean up the steel plates. I'll separate them, force them separate. And if the fiber plates stay together and there's enough meat on them, well, we're just going to soak them in oil, clean them up as best we can, and we're going to throw the thing back together. Because obviously this motor only doesn't put out torque enough where it's really going to tear the clutch to pieces. So.
Or if it does, we'll find out very soon.
Yeah. And it'll just be the clutch will slip or whatever, and then I'll have to buy new plates. So, but you know me, I'll try it. I'll try cleaning it up first before I buy something new. So in most cases. So yeah. So if you guys want to follow along, you know we're in Canada because
A boot. Not a boot. Sorry.